Good evening and welcome to Real Talk, where every Sunday night we offer insight, education, and resources to in-home caregivers and those affected in their world. These are the children, the parents, the extended family, and everyone who loves them. And our goal is to offer real-life topics and learning through discussing real issues and offering real solutions. And tonight I am very excited to welcome a guest, Natalie Hudson, who's a veteran in the private service industry and someone I've known for a few years now. And I'm going to tell you about Natalie in just a moment, but Natalie, welcome. I'm really excited to have you tonight.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Natalie, and then I'm going to tell you about something that I think is very exciting that she's doing and has spearheaded. And I'm excited enough about it that we're getting involved as well at New Orleans Care Solutions. But first, let me tell you about Natalie. Natalie is a veteran in the private service industry. She began her career as a live-in nanny in the New York tri-state area in 1995, much like a lot of us did. After working for a high-profile family as a nanny, household manager, and personal assistant, Natalie attended the International Butler Academy in the Netherlands in 2001. She spent the next several years as a freelance assistant in the Minneapolis area before accepting a role with a favorite client that kept her busy for nearly 10 years as an estate manager and family assistant. After being downsized in 2017, Natalie enrolled at Metropolitan State University in St. Paul, Minnesota, in their individual studies department, and she curated a degree plan focused on luxury lifestyle management. Along with a proctor, she wrote many of her own courses, including course outlines and learning outcomes. In addition to her studies, Natalie served as the virtual chapter president for the Domestic Estate Management Association, which is where I met Natalie. And as president, she created, produced, and hosted a weekly virtual meeting, presenting relevant content with industry experts to private service professionals worldwide. Natalie graduated with a bachelor's degree in 2020, Summa Cum Laude. And when DEMA closed its doors in 2019, Natalie saw an opportunity to fill that void and create a new organization dedicated to the development and best practices for all aspects of the private service industry. So obviously that's where we come into that picture as well. And with a team of supporting partnerships, the Private Service Alliance has become a reality. And I love that you're doing that, Natalie. And we're going to spend this time talking about that. But before we get started, share just a little bit about yourself, maybe a little fun fact so that our audience can get to know you a little bit.
Well, if I had to pick one fun fact, it would be that I helped the International Nanny Association, INA's, I helped launch their virtual attendance options. So nannies could attend virtually instead of, if they weren't able to be on the live, attend the live conferences.
Right, so that was that in New Orleans or was that, I don't remember where
it was in New Orleans.
Yeah, okay, yes, and that was the very first year that INA had a virtual option. And now it is a reality within their organization. They do it every year. So we have Natalie to thank for helping that happen the very first time. And I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk tonight about the Private Service Alliance. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, you're not alone, but awareness is spreading really, really quickly. We actually have gotten on board with the Private Service Alliance as well. And their membership is growing quickly. And so we wanted to bring you information around that. So tell us, let's start with what is Private Service Alliance? And then let's talk about why you feel there's a need for it.
Well, I guess if I'm going to describe what it is, I'll go back to our mission statement, which is Private Service Alliance is a global membership organization supporting the private service industry to develop professional relationships, establish industry standards, grow industry knowledge, and promote best practices.
Fabulous. Why do you think we need this now?
I received hundreds of phone calls, emails, and texts from frustrated private service professionals, agencies, educators, and luxury-oriented businesses that missed the gap that DEMA left behind when it closed its doors.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And, I was one of the people that was like, hey, wait a minute. What happened? And I want to share just really briefly for those who don't know what a private service professional is, because that's a term that not everybody's familiar with. Can you explain that term, Natalie?
Sure, we lovingly refer to private service professionals as PSPs, and that really is anyone who works in a private home, whether you're a housekeeper, a nanny, a doula, a chauffeur, an estate manager, director of residence, chief of staff, head housekeeper, really anyone working in private homes.
Absolutely. And so that's kind of a generic term that kind of encompasses all of that, which is great because there hasn't always been a term for that. And so that is helpful for our audience to know. So your experience in private service really kind of led you to get involved with DEMA initially, but now it's found the Private Service Alliance. And you've collaborated with a lot of really phenomenal people in our industry. And I want you to share with us a little bit about what the Private Service Alliance shares with their members, why people should look at it as a really valuable resource.
Well, first of all, I believe that the private service industry is strongest and healthiest when people are connected. It's all about relationship. And a private service professional is only as good as their network. So if they're not connected to fantastic placement agencies, they're not going to find fantastic roles on a reoccurring basis. If they're not connected with phenomenal educators, they're going to miss out on cutting edge new information. And also if they've not taken a boot camp course in like, for example, the Butler schools, 10, 12-week immersive trainings, you don't learn those foundational skills that guide you through all the millions of decisions you need to make every day on behalf of your principals.
Yep, there's a lot in there. And so what is it that the Private Service Alliance is striving to provide? Is it the connection? Is it the relationships? Are you going to be a school? What are you looking to offer?
We are a connecting point and an advocate for all sides of the private service industry relationships. Mm-hmm. So we help foster relationships with businesses who every private service professional needs in their back pocket. So when your principal's world explodes, you can, oh, I know 3 people who I can call that could fix this, or, or at least I can log into my account and search the country or the world for that resource. Sorry, what was that question again?
No, just what is the goal of this? Are you offer education or?
So we're not a school, but we do have educational resources. Mm-hmm. So as our database grows, people can click in and see, okay, how can I fold napkins? How can I do this? How can I do that? What are best practices in this area? And in addition, we'll be starting virtual content like the real talk that you do here, where we'll dive into industry specific issues of maybe it's, best practices in chartering a yacht, or best practices in cleaning silver, or things like that that are specifically industry related to private service professionals. We also have chat boards. We call them workspaces, and there's some general ones, and then there's also ones that are specific to different roles within private service. And we're offering, we'll be having a job board, and what else?
What are your long-term goals? Do you eventually hope to maybe have a conference or?
Absolutely, conferences. And we also would like to have local chapters around the world. In fact, we're preparing to launch our very first chapter in Palm Beach, Florida, and we're super excited about that.
Very nice. So can you share with us a little bit? So obviously our audience is meeting you, and we've alluded to the fact that there's some other people that are involved here. Can you share with us a little bit about who else is involved in this organization?
Sure. Well, the first to jump on board was Starla Smith of Household Staffing, and she has been a phenomenal resource and tool for getting our website up and off the ground. As far as agency partners, we also have Daniel Wood of Domestic Match, and our educator advisors are Bonnie Lil Creeman of Be the Ultimate Assistant, and Thomas Kaufman, who's the CEO of the International Butler Academy. We've also added Chris Ramey is our global national business partner advisor, and we also have 2 private service professionals on our advisory board. One is Chris Allen, who is a retired butler, and Anthony Barlow, who is an active estate manager.
Fantastic. So there's some names that a lot of people working in this industry who've been in this industry for a while will recognize for sure. And what are you looking for in terms of members? Who can join this organization? If somebody says, hey, I'm kind of interested in learning more about this, I'm just a nanny, can I join?
Absolutely. Nannies work in private homes. Absolutely, they can join. And especially if they have aspirations to climb the domestic ladder and beyond their role as a nanny and become a nanny household manager, nanny personal assistant, or leave the nanny role altogether, and like I did, and head into the management side of private estates.
Right. And I love that you brought that up, because I talk to a lot of people who are like, I love kids and I love working for families, but I kind of want to do something a little different. And I have that conversation with them a lot, because they're like, I'm thinking about being a newborn care specialist. Now, sometimes based on what I talk to them about, I encourage them to do it. And sometimes I discourage them and say, maybe, look at another role within domestic service, or even outside it sometimes, but most of the time it's to encourage them to look at what's your skill set, what are you really good at, and having done household management myself, I understand kind of the things that go in those roles. And some people want to make changes now and then. Sometimes they change for a while and come back, and you guys absolutely are a resource for everyone within the industry, correct?
Absolutely. In fact, there are a handful of other organizations supporting specific roles within private service, like yourself with newborn care specialists. But we're kind of the melting pot of serving all roles within private service.
Fantastic.
Or specifically all the management roles in private service.
Right. So one of the questions that's probably going to come up from our audience is, okay, I think I'm interested in this. I think I might want to consider joining, or at least checking this out. So what does it cost? Well,
this year I have gifted memberships to private service professionals. So they're free for 2022.
So private service professionals across the board can join for free this year.
Yes.
Absolutely. That is fantastic. I love that that's an option for people. And I think, then they can check things out and understand the value of what you're creating, and then stick with it.
Well, and not only that, it gives them time to see us grow, because we are a new organization. We launched to private service professionals in January of 2022. So we're very, very new. And we currently have 2,300 private service professionals as members. And, everyone is seeing the little bits that we're, adding each month, the
right.
New assets, the new benefits. And it takes time to onboard all those things. And I wanted to make sure that private service professionals had early access to watch, to help us watch and help us grow.
Mhm. No, I love that. And I'm glad you brought that point up. Had you not brought it up, I was going to bring it up, which is this is a new organization. And while there are some big time names behind what you're doing, having launched a company several years ago myself, I know it takes time to build and grow. And so even when you have long-term aspirations for all the things you'd like to offer, you have to do them a step at a time. And so obviously, not everything's going to be in place if people join this year, but they can have a voice maybe. They can help get involved and be one of the people making these things happen. Because I know that most organizations require a lot of manpower to make those things happen.
Yes, they do. It's been a lot of work.
Yes, I know it has, because we talked about it early on, and then I don't remember anything after that other than I think you saying you were thinking about doing it, I think is maybe when we talked. And then all of a sudden there it was. And it turns out that you had sent me some information, but I just didn't find it. It was in my spam, and with a long email search, I didn't have that. But I'm excited that it's finally launched. I'm excited about what's being offered out there. Before we wrap up, Natalie, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience?
I really do want to hear from experienced private service professionals on, what do they want and need the organization that they rely on to provide to them. If they were members of DEMA, what did they like about DEMA? What didn't they like about DEMA? What worked for them? What didn't? And keeping in mind that they're 1/4 of the voice of Private Service Alliance, because I also cater to agencies, educators, and the businesses so that we help fulfill that relationship circle.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that you're seeking that input. And I'm excited to see where this goes, because I really enjoyed being part of a professional organization that served the entire industry. I learned a lot, and those tools and things that I learned as a newborn care specialist being involved in it, and as an educator being involved in it, directly impacted how I served the clients that I was still serving and how we serve our students. And so I saw great value in that. And I would encourage anybody who's considering this to take a chance on this. You'd be surprised at what you can learn. And especially, say you're a nanny or a newborn care specialist and you have aspirations in working with high net worth or high profile families, this is a great resource to help you learn how to do that with success. So I'm excited about it. Natalie, I'm proud of what you're doing. I think this is awesome. And I'm really glad that you were able to hop on here with us and spend a few minutes and share about the Private Service Alliance. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. Perfect. So if you have any questions around this topic or anything related to the Private Service Alliance, put them in the feed and tag Natalie Hudson or tag us at Newborn Care Solutions, and we'll make sure you get answers. If you want to rewatch this segment or catch any of our past Real Talk episodes, along with accessing our other content, pop on over to newborncaresolutions.com and click on the Education tab. Or you can find all of our Real Talk content on YouTube. Just type Newborn Care Solutions into the YouTube search function and it all comes up. Thanks for joining us and have a great night.